everyone. Welcome back to the PR Essentials Summit. In this conversation, we're going to be talking about the state of PR and all things PR from with our lovely ladies here. I have April. I always forget which last
White.
White. April.
I'm an enigma.
Yes, yes.
Actually, I'm going for just April eventually, like
Just
Prince.
April. Oh
Yeah,
well,
just
yeah, I can do that with Ron Genie. It's easy.
you can
Um,
actually pull that up. I cannot.
Yeah. April White, she's the CEO and founder of Trust Relations. And then we also have here Mary Elizabeth L. Cordy, who's the CEO and founder of L. Cordy Global Relations. Say hello.
Hi.
So we're gonna have a quick, nice discussion and conversation. This summit has always been targeted towards people who are doing their own marketing, PR, and PR people and marketing people that have done it before and just kind of need to brush up or want to get the latest. So I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about the PR landscape right now because it's shifting quite tremendously, and I've seen a shift, and I like to hear about what kind of shifts you guys have seen. So
Hmm.
maybe I'm going to start here with April. What do you think is going on in PR today?
I mean, there's so much going. One of the big shifts that I've seen in the last month or two is that on the consumer side, which we do both B2B and B2C, and work with clients of lifestyle, consumer, et cetera, CBG, blah, blah, blah. And in that space, what I'm seeing is a shift towards people being more interested in affiliate marketing
Ugh.
in lieu of PR. So I'm getting feedback like, hey, our budget's going to affiliate marketing instead of PR. Are you doing that? But I think there's an R in the consumer space to then make sure that we're positioning how PR can interface with affiliate marketing and or, add affiliate marketing as a tactic that you're offering as an agency, either as a third party add-on through another provider or actually in-house. So I
Right.
sort of in the consumer space, I almost feel like affiliate marketing is the new social media. And remember back in the day, maybe like 10 years ago or so, maybe even fewer, where it was like everyone is adding social media as the thing they do in addition to PR.
Yes.
I feel
Yes.
like the new version of that is affiliate marketing. And if you're not doing that as a consumer facing firm, you're missing out.
Wow. Wow. That's a good insight, little tidbit.
It's
Mary,
interesting.
what about
Yeah.
you? What are you seeing on? I mean, I always when I think of you like as news trends, like trends in the news, storytelling. But I could be wrong. So what are you guys seeing over there?
I mean, affiliate marketing is definitely something that I can relate to from like the e-commerce side of what we do, and it's an often asked thing. But from the PR side of like the media relations side of what we do, I mean, it's really people want things that are timely and on trend. Like if your client has no footprint whatsoever and they expect a feature, like good luck. Like that's just not happening. I had someone ask me, like someone wants to work with us and they're like, my client only wants New York Times. And I'm like, oh, I said, what's the New York Times like level story that we're telling? And for some people, like that just doesn't make sense for them. And they don't really do features on like people that they've never heard of. Like, even if they're impressive within their own community, I've had like people from the White House that they turned down. Like, so it's not against you. It's not personal. It's like I always say, it's not personal. It's business. It's not personal. It's news. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that clients really struggle with. And especially with so many of these news sites downsizing so much and the layoffs are real. Like, if you're not really hitting, like, you want to be in these top tier places, and how are you being relevant to the narrative today? Because like there's less people to do more of these human interest stories and features on this like really cool CEO that's did something cool. It's more so like, okay, awesome, you did that, and like there's
Yeah.
always the and.
Yeah, and most of those guys are missing the "and." But I agree with you. A lot more people are saying, "What's the shortcut to get into the New York Times? What's the shortcut to get into Wall Street Journal?" You're like, you have, like you said, 0 footprint, and now you want a feature. I don't know what to tell you.
Like,
Yeah, exactly. Good luck. I was talking to somebody earlier. I was telling you guys at a previous panel in our content thought leadership panel. We were talking about how to build thought leadership. And one of the insights John Biggs was giving me, he was just saying that, same thing, like there's a lot less people, but, it's now time where you're really going to be producing a lot of your own content, telling your own story. And and I feel like, April, to what you said about social media, like we added on social media as a
Mhm.
PR element.
Yeah.
I feel like content development had been added to in a couple
Yes.
years ago, right? As with the
100%
pandemic
content
and stuff
marketing.
like that.
Yep.
So I think that's probably a huge, new trend that's going to be it's going to be an interesting shift for PR people because I don't think traditionally companies and brands say, "Oh, PR people, I'm going to go to them for content." I don't think they normally say that,
I
you know.
agree with that, there's a really nice synergy between content marketing and
Oh
PR,
yeah.
right? Because you can develop the blog pieces that then get repurposed as themes for Byland articles or vice versa. I mean, there should be
Mm.
that kind of sharing happening between the intellectual capital that you're gaining as you're working on the account. So makes a lot of sense for us to do it. It just hasn't been something that we've traditionally positioned ourselves as doing until
Right, and I
now.
I don't think people see that connection that you're talking about. That is the connection, but I see it, you see it, we see
Yeah,
it internally, but then I don't think people think that, "Oh, that's a marketing activity," you
right.
know? And then how do we bridge that gap between and that's always been the case. How do you bridge the gap between PR and marketing?
Mhm.
And, where should we live? Or are
100%.
we or are
Yes,
we
you
now calling ourselves marketing agencies?
Well, I mean, to that point, there is this continued blend between, the earned and the paid and the owned spaces that's getting more and more blurry, right? I mean, there are so many broadcast opportunities that are pay for play, and a very, I'll say almost the majority now on the consumer side. There's obviously all the Forbes councils and
Yep.
Entrepreneur Council, and the Newsweek Council, and the Rolling Stone Council,
Rolling
and
Stone,
all
yeah.
of those cost money to be on the council, but not to publish the article. But it's sort of like, you know,
But kind
somewhere in
of the same,
between.
yeah.
It's kind of the same, So there's that, and then there's also, I mean, back in the day, it was like you could just pitch a speaking op, and that didn't have to have any money attached to it. Now it's like we would love for them to be a speaker. The speaker packages start at this sponsorship level.
$20,000.
Exactly.
That's
And it's like,
wild to me. I think
yeah,
it is sweet.
yeah. So there are all these places and spaces where it's starting to get murkier. And again, on the consumer side, not to keep going down that rabbit hole, but it's like if you don't have an affiliate marketing program set up and you're trying to pitch a product to the press, God help you. Because if you aren't sending an affiliate link to those journalists,
Oh, yeah.
you're never going to be in a listicle.
Yeah,
Never. Never.
yeah. And then on most e-commerce retail brands don't want to be on they're like, "I don't wanna be on Amazon," or, "I don't wanna be on whatever the host of
If
different
they want
affiliate."
consumer press, they have to be.
Yeah.
They have
Yeah.
to be. But it's there's that, and then yeah, it's just everything is starting to get a little bit murkier. So
Yeah, it feels like that kind of lends to the reputation of the media over the past couple years too. It's just, you know, happens to PR. PR, I think, essentially is reputation management, right? Or building and management.
building
And
credibility and managing reputations. Yeah.
but if the media is no longer credible, then how do we build that credible presence for potential customers? You know?
That is what keeps me up at night.
Yeah,
Yeah, because the
we don't
whole
have it.
our entire existence as an industry
Yeah,
is predicated on the fact that we are building credibility by getting our clients into news outlets that inherently have greater credibility than they do as a brand,
right.
which lends their credit then lends the publication's credibility to the brand that's featured in the publication. But if nobody cares anymore about those publications or doesn't or thinks they're all pay for play or thinks that they're all falling back into the owned and paid space where it's like, well, it's probably a somehow there's money exchange behind the scenes. If that and or just the general credibility of the media fails, I don't know what happens to PR. So that's like I hate to be the like Scrooge, but that's just what
Realistic.
Yeah.
it's really concerning. It's really concerning.
Yeah, and maybe I'm, just thinking about what all of us do because I know a little bit, obviously, about all three of us, and just based on how we pitch and how April, you probably guys pitch, and I know how Mary pitches. Also, I wonder if like this is really going to end up becoming the battle of people instead of the battle of brands, and like it's going to be more people that are doing independent thought leadership, more independent.
Thought leadership is everything now.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
instead
it's a
of the
requirement.
brand.
Yeah. I
I
think there's a
don't.
lot of that. I mean, and the other thing that concerns me is the rise in paid content paywalls.
Mm.
Because then how do you justify to your clients, "Okay, cool, we got you in this exclusive publication that only a handful of people," I mean, more than a handful, but, they have to pay for it. So, "Okay, cool, we got you this placement, but you're not allowed to share it unless you pay." And usually there's some kind of crazy fee attached to
Each article.
each
Yeah.
article that you're trying to get from behind the paywall to be able to use in your marketing or on your website or send in an e-newsletter or whatever. So it's just harder and harder for them to even understand the value of publications that are including them in stories that are behind paywalls that people have to subscribe to
Yeah.
see.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's another one of these things that keeps me up at night.
Another one.
I-
Uh, and with that note, this conversation's over. No, but, well, I think this kind of touches on the next question that I wanted to present to you guys was things we wish that clients knew. And I think, that kind of the state of the media, I always start a lot of conversations with potential or new clients. I always start with the state of the media, because I like them to understand what we're walking into, even though they don't really get it still, they just like kind of listen, but they don't. What do you wish, Mary, that clients knew when you're working on like pitching stories and things like that?
I mean, I think my point before about the importance of timeliness, whenever we're like doing a new business call or something like that, I'm always setting the expectations of the difference between like what an earned media company does and not, right? So
Right.
like provide opportunities, but we can't guarantee placements. Like we can guarantee opportunities, but there's a lot of factors that go into something actually placing. Some are on the client side from just saying yes or being
Yeah.
available to like understanding how different types of opportunities have different timelines. And there's like, I feel like I'm a therapist the first couple months I'm with a client. Cause like 2 weeks in, even though you tell them like you need 2 weeks to get going and they start pitching in the third week, they like a lot of them conveniently forget it once you start working. They're like, why hasn't anything placed? Why hasn't it? I'm like, you breathe first and second, like you have to walk a little bit before you can run. And especially with these like newer brands that have nothing, it's like they expect to go from 0 to like 2,000 overnight. And with anything in life, it's like steps on a ladder. If the steps are too wide, you're not going to like get to the top of the ladder. It doesn't mean you like move faster along it. Like if you have like if you hit a story that really resonates with people, but it's like steps, like small steps on a ladder that lead to like larger steps in the long run. And I think it's just that understanding. And it's also a lot of people are like very commitment phobe in PR, like anything in life. We live in a very commitment phobe society. And so the idea of like understanding, like for instance, there's like a client that wants to work with us for like 2 months, but wants me to like change our pay structure to like guarantee like certain things or not get paid, like get paid for part of it and get paid till
Oh, wow. That's
eventually.
bold.
And I'm just like, we can't work that way. Or my favorite is a client. This is my favorite. A client like where we had agreed upon amount of time because we work 8 hours, reduces the time, still expects the same level of results, and then changes the terms to 4 placements that place every month. And that if he doesn't see 4 placements, that he just pays as part of the reduced fee without
They just
giving
get to
me a
do
heads
whatever
up.
they feel like.
Yeah, I get no heads up. I just see the bank account, and I'm like, "Wait, did this guy just pay me a third of what we charged at a reduced rate?" And, like, when you, like, challenge them, like, for instance, like, "Hey, if we don't see, like, this is our minimum spend, if we don't hit that even, and it's still cheaper than anywhere else you go, really, that has, like, the level of team that we have,"
Yeah.
uh, then they're like, "Well, how many placements did you get us last month at place?" And I'm like, "You're not hearing me." That's a really hard thing to
Oof.
understand. Like, I was just telling someone, it's like they expect you to have, like, a little black book where you just put in PR dollars and out comes TechCrunch or out comes Y, and it's just really not how that works at all. Like, I wish it was, like, I would be charging, like, 4 times the amount that I charge then. But it's just not how this works, and the thing is, like, when you see how much, like, paid content is, so, like, for, like, Elle Magazine, I think it's, like, $50,000 for an article where you get 70,000 guaranteed views, but, like, you don't know who these views are.
Yeah.
Or, like, they do a post on social media, 500,000 impressions guaranteed. Okay, cool, but what's the conversion rate? But people are willing to spend 50 Gs, but, like, I'm charging a certain amount.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm charging $1,000 and you don't even wanna pay for that. That's like
Yeah, or, like, even 2,500, and, like,
yeah.
the thing is, like, you get so many more opportunities that may include that within that year, in addition to, like, probably tens of others,
Yeah.
instead of spending that amount and it's, like, earned and it doesn't say paid, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like, there's a difference, and I don't think people really understand that, so I think it's, understanding value, time, because like, I know, like, the previous firms I worked with, they have, like, 6-month, 1-year minimums, like, and
Oh,
you,
yeah.
like you give the concept of a 3-month or two-month minimum, people still question it. I'm like, "You have to, like, logistically think about this. It takes us 2 weeks to go in. Even if we get opportunities in the 1st month, like, it doesn't mean it's gonna place then. It will likely not place till the 2nd month, and then you can start building, like, a domino effect. But, like, it's not even about the money all the time when I say, like, it's 3
Yeah.
months. It's really like you're investing in the process, right?
Right.
Like, understanding that this doesn't happen overnight by any stretch of the imagination. And, like, when you are doing like, I understand they're still providing money to us, but, like, when you are doing, like, in my opinion, a favor to a company that can't afford, like, your normal rates and you do a reduced rate or, like, like, find a way to work together and they're still arguing on how you're doing payment structures, I'm just like, "Bro." Like, I run a 22-person company. It's not like I'm like some Joe Schmo freelancer who's
Yeah,
like
you're not just paying
5.
me. Yeah.
Well, I mean, if they were just paying me I'd like to think it's more expensive. My friend said the other day who works in the industry, he's like, "Mary, just admit it, you're expensive." I'm like, "No, I'm not expensive, but, like, I've earned everything I had." He's like, "No, it's okay to, like, admit that you're expensive. Like, you should be expensive because you run the company."
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's just, like, as founders, I sometimes find it really hard when billing clients, the concept of, like, billing my time when, like, you have teams and all that type of stuff, but
Right.
they, like, are like, I had a client that was texting me at 3:30 in the morning last night expecting answers, and, like, I was with one of my friends, and they're like, "Are you seriously gonna answer this right now?" I'm like, "Well, he's in Europe. Like, what am I supposed to do?"
I
Like,
love
they
that
don't
you were
Yeah.
awake at 3:30.
Oh, yeah, I'm a night owl. Also, I was watching a Christmas movie, and I was really feeling the Christmas spirit, so that's fine.
Wait, does
That's
that
all.
mean that you responded is the
I did,
question?
I did
Yeah.
respond. And then this guy still, like, he texted me this morning
Oh,
at 9 PM
no.
saying
Oh,
that we have
no.
to talk today, and I'm like, "The people that work on the account are gone till Monday,
I
and
can't
there's
I
nothing
can't
else."
give you information if I don't know. Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm just pulling stuff out of my hat, which I really don't wanna do, and, like, speaking on behalf of the people that actually have to do the work. Right? And they're like, I have to, like, teach, like, I think one of the biggest, hardest things with having a team is teaching them boundaries with clients. And I struggle with it because
Yeah.
my name's on the door, right? But
Right.
for people whose name isn't on the door, like, she's like, "Oh, well, they called me on the weekend and they text me." I'm
Don't
like,
do it.
So when they message you, what I do is I forward it to the group chat with the whole team. So it's not one-offs with me and then with the other people because different information, conflicting information, and also, like, I understand you pay us a decent amount of money. We appreciate it. We do good work. But you're not like, I think sometimes clients feel like they're hiring, like when they hire us for, let's say, 30 hours, right? Which isn't
Mhm.
that much in the scheme of things.
Yeah.
Uh, they act as if this person's full time.
Yeah.
And no, 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 no. And they're like, "Well, do we bill for like the time like we're on the phone with them?" I'm like, unless you're talking like friends, like, "Hey, how's your weekend going?" They're
Yeah.
talking work, you're billing that time.
Yeah.
No way.
Mm-mm. Yeah, I think the boundary, especially with, I mean, I know you and I work with similar sized clients. So like a lot of it's startups or like smaller companies that are trying to really ramp up some PR stuff. I do think smaller clients, and even if you give, like, I've noticed that same thing. You give them a little inch of like, oh, okay, you know what? I'm gonna help you out. There's no helping anybody. The only help you could do is just doing your job, I think, and giving anybody any sense of leeway. I mean, it takes a long time to learn this, but, like, it doesn't matter if you charge them 500 or $5,000, they're gonna ask for the same level of service on both sides. It's so crazy.
Well, I had this one client who recently we parted ways and we were doing like this nonprofit event for him on the side, like helping to get like celebrity stuff. Like I was donating my time for that.
Uh-huh.
We were going over hours and he asked to do influencer stuff. So I sent him a scope, right? And he's like, "Oh, that doesn't include the price for the influencers." I'm like, "No, it doesn't improve the price for that." And then he calls one of my team members. He's like, "Does Mary charge for every little thing that she does?" And I'm like, first of all, I
Well,
didn't. Second of all, I run, see, I almost cursed. I run a freaking business, right? Like, this is not a non-for-profit company. Like, and it's not even about me as the owner. Like, it's not
Does
like
she charge for everything she does? That's a good one. That's
but, like, it's not like I'm trying to be some, like, money-hungry person. Like, I have a team I'm responsible for who also wanna grow here, want professional development, who want, like, to be able to see, like, they have a future here. That requires us making a profit. Like, that does not like, it's not about me,
yeah.
about
Yeah.
Right.
them.
You need to stay in business to be able to be servicing them.
Yeah.
And
Right.
if you're over servicing them, you will go out of business and no longer be able to be there for them as their firm. Yeah.
It's yeah,
I hear you.
I think that's a problem for most smaller agencies.
Yeah. You know what we did to address it is
Mm.
we introduced a point system. So we gamify monthly retainers. Every
Okay.
activity we do has points allocated to it based on the level of expertise required, the blended hourly rate, how many hours it takes on average,
Uh-huh.
and then they're stuck to those. So they get a set number of points to spend every month. And if they want more activity than that, we say no problem. We'll just invoice you for the additional points if you want to do that, or we can borrow points from next month. But it's a way of keeping them in the boundaries, and we just tell them, listen, this is for everybody's benefit to make sure we're giving you the highest level of professional service for each tactic we're doing, so the team doesn't get spread so thin they don't do anything well. So
Right.
this is why it's this way. And then it's easier to upsell them, because if they keep busting out of their jean size every month and borrowing points from the next month and the next, and it's like, hey, you no longer fit your retainer.
Yeah.
So that has saved our asses, because it's like a built-in boundary, and it's a way of making sure we aren't over servicing to the point where we go out of business. and, and it just also levels us expectations so that they don't think if they're spending 5 a month, they get the same level of service as somebody who's spending 10 a month or 15
Right.
or 20, right? Like they shouldn't, that shouldn't be a thing. It should be, you get what you pay for. So if you're
Right.
paying for the basic entry level retainer, then you get basic entry level PR.
Yeah.
That's
Easy
how it
peasy.
works. Yeah, 100%. Or like when a client's telling you that they want to reduce their hours, but they haven't told you yet and you're still doing work. So I send them the normal invoice, right? They're like, I
Mhm.
told you I don't want to do this much. Okay, then what do you want to do? Because we're still doing work. We just got you on, top, I don't want to call them out. So top tier media,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And a speaking opportunity whilst you have yet to decide. So, it's like halfway through the month. So
Yeah,
like,
draw a line in the sand.
Mhm.
I feel like just hearing us, the 3 of us together, it's like we're very abused. We're in a very abusive relationships with our clients. I mean, there's always the good clients, right? There's always the really good ones and there's always outliers. But
I hate when, like, you have team members who, like, criticize you on, like, some of the clients that you brought in, like, Mary,
Oh, I was
and I'm just like
just
"Sure."
talking about this.
And it's just like, sometimes when you meet someone well, there's 2 things. Sometimes when you meet someone, they sound really nice. They
yeah,
seem really cool. They, like, nod, they laugh at the right points, they seem to get it.
Yeah.
At the beginning, they're, like, really positive, go lucky, and then, like, their alternative personality comes through. Their alternate personality comes through, and you're like, "Who is this person? What in the world?" And people
where did you
think
come
like,
from?
you made a bad choice of person. I'm like, "I didn't
I didn't
like,
know they had an alter ego. That was
how am I supposed
that
to know that?" Like, there's no
true.
and then also, like, earlier this year, like, at least my friends from NPR, like, everyone felt it. Like, people were talking recessions. A lot of clients left at the beginning of this year.
Oh,
Towards
yeah.
August, out of nowhere, everyone started coming back. Like, now we're looking at hiring more, which I never thought this would be the case for this year at all. But earlier this year, like, a lot of, like, my friend who has a PR firm for, like, over a decade had to do the same stuff I had to do, and I'm like, "Okay, I'm not like, it's not me. It's just this guy,"
No,
And
it's
sometimes,
everyone.
like, my friends would joke around when I first started saying, like, "You, like, Mary, you hoe out for clients, as in you take anyone and everyone." I'm like, "Well, when you have lights to keep on, if they're not a bad person, they're not morally wrong, if it's
Yeah.
interesting, like, you know what? I'm gonna take it because would you rather not work here or would you rather work here?" Mary, I
Yeah.
really like the quality of client for, like, 1 month of this year. I'm like, "Well, you try to get new business."
You get a client. Yeah, exactly.
Like, "Well, I got like, well, this one person's talking to me," and I'm like, "Okay, so has it closed?" I do 70 new business calls a month. Like, it's serious up in here. Like 40 minimum 40 is our minimum benchmark of new business calls a month. I'm hustling all day. And someone's like complaining. I'm like, you try to get one. Like,
Yeah.
just find one. Well,
Yeah.
have they closed it? Do you want to answer the question? Have they closed it?
No.
There you go.
I know. I know. It's like you bring home the bacon. Everyone's like, I don't like this. I
This
don't like this
flavor.
bacon. Yeah, I don't like this flavor
Yeah.
of bacon.
Can you
This
get me
isn't good
brown
bacon.
sugar, please?
Oh my
Do
God.
you have any? This is like, and lately, I don't know if it's been the same for you. Our sales cycle used to be maybe like a 6 week turnaround or something like that. It's now more like 6 months to a year, which I've heard has become the standard in the industry, which I'm hoping will speed back up now that things are
Change.
turning around. Yeah,
Uh,
but it's like it's
I
like
don't
giving birth
It's like
sometimes because
I
it's
think.
like
I
you're
mean, I think
waiting
it's
for them. Oh, it depends on
the
where they
size.
are. Like, but a
Yeah.
lot of times it's like they're waiting for funding,
Oh,
and then
yeah.
because the funding isn't coming in now, that I keep getting keeps getting pushed and pushed and pushed. They wanted to start in January, and now it's like, talk to me in June of 2024, right? It's like, oh boy. So I mean, they don't even understand. Like you've been in some cases, I am like nursing and curating and
Mhm.
feeding and growing this relationship for months.
Inside of your stomach.
Yeah, it feels like it, and then it's like I finally give birth to a new client.
I think that's the difference between I think we're all like coming from that same kind of time frame of you put in hard work and then you reap benefits after and then you become an expert or whatever the case is. But I think a lot of the newer people I mean, you came from journalism, Mary. I came from PR. I literally went to school for PR. I don't know and journalism. I don't know. April, where'd
I'm a
you come?
former journalist too, yeah.
Okay. So
Get it.
coming from that journalism background, I think it's a little bit different when people are and I hate putting this against each other, but this marketing background or social media background, it's a little bit different because it's like a different world that they come from. And then when the two collide, it becomes very strange because they're not used to that. They didn't have to put in that like groundwork.
Crazy hours.
Yeah.
Pay dues, you know? I was, like, making phone call the first year I had a job not an intern, I was making phone calls, like, in the middle of the night.
Yep.
I would leave work at, like, let's say, like, 5 or 6 o'clock, but then I'd have to come back to work, like, at 10 o'clock to talk to these other people, like, globally, and so I'd be working on all kinds of crazy I never complained once. I never complained once. I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna be so good at this after this is all done." I was like, so and obviously, like, I was able to reap the benefits of, like, putting in hard work, but I don't think the practice of marketing has had that same putting in dues kind of, thing.
No, definitely not. I mean, when I started out in radio, I mean, I worked in campaigns, which you have no life. And then I worked in radio, which you also have no life. And I worked like 12 to 16-hour days whilst going to school at night in
Uh-huh.
radio. I only got paid for 5,
Yeah.
because I wanted to make something of myself, and then you become indispensable. I'm not saying everyone should do that.
Mhm.
In your early 20s, you have no responsibilities that are tied
Yeah.
to you. And so that is when you do it. And like even when I worked in PR, my first PR gig, it was similar in terms of the fact that I would be getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning and start pitching and phone pitching. And we had to
Yeah,
pitch at least 100 people a day on the phone.
on
You
the
try
phone.
telling someone to do that now, like they'll laugh in my face.
I
Not
get
maybe
I get pushed
not
back for
ever.
sending follow-up emails. They won't even send a follow-up email.
No,
Like,
I mean,
what about what about you, April? I think we've kind of dipped into our underused PR tactics here.
Yes.
What have been some creative ways that you executed some of the PR strategies that you're working on now?
So one of the things that I am trying to sort of push forward and get traction for is I think I'm getting a lot of pushback still from clients that haven't done PR before and all the other pieces of their marketing mix. The ROI is very not always easy to prove, but much easier, right? And so I'm running into a lot of issues with people saying, well, we need to know how many new clients we got from the PR hits we got, or we need to know how many sales we got from the PR hits we got. And that's not exactly possible.
Right.
So I'm in trying to figure out,
You
okay,
didn't
how
even
do
want to
I
you didn't even want to say that out of your mouth just now.
so but I've been trying to figure out what can make it slightly more possible, right?
Yeah.
So one of the things I tell them is, okay, well, there would be no way for us to know how many clients you secured from media. However, if you have an intake form every time you speak with a new client, and one of the options that they can click or tell you is that they saw you in the press, that gives you one proof point, right? We can't use UTM tracking codes in pitches and press releases, etc., the press will go crazy. You can maybe get by with using UTM tracking code in a press release, but not in a pitch, right? So the other thing I say is like, if you have the capabilities in house, let's do vanity landing pages, meaning let's do, okay, trustrelations.agency/new offer.
Yeah.
And we'll put that in the press release and in the pitches. And then your Google Analytics will be able to tell you how many people came to the special landing page that we
Right.
made that was, available publicly, but it doesn't look as smarmy as a UTM tracking code if you're using it with the press, right? So you can get
Right.
by with that. That's another way to do it. But there's still no guarantee that the press will actually include said vanity
Code,
landing page.
that link. Yeah.
No, they might still go back to the normal .com or the whatever .io or .co or whatever it is. So there's no guarantee they'll do it. So I've been trying to figure out, okay, and then also like with SEO, they want to know how many, how is that serving their SEO purposes. So I'm trying to do a lot of like, hey, let's reach out to your SEO team in-house or your agency and figure out what are the key search terms they're trying to push and make sure we're feeding it into the PR machine so that the byline articles that we're putting out and the pitches we're putting out include those key search terms. Again, no guarantee, except
But
for
at
the
least we're
byline.
being consistent.
Right. And then ideally, in addition to getting the press hits, you get to see, okay, in addition to that, this is the number, we saw with these placements that included the key search terms, the SEO was boosted for those key search terms we were previously ranking poorly for, and it goes up because we got the press. So I'm trying to figure out like, how do you do shared metrics to make PR metrics look like they have more of a spine or backbone or meat or fill in
Yeah.
the blank, however you want to say it. Like they look more
Measurable.
mathematically measurable and valid. Yeah.
Right.
So that's something that I've been trying to work at, both in terms of setting expectations with prospects up front, but also educating my team where some of these things are like UTM tracking goes, what,
Yeah.
like I don't even know what that is. Right. And so trying to do, kind of work in both directions and like get it so that when the clients they never ideally question the spend.
Yeah, and I think that one of the things that over the years, I've tried to do this so many times, like, can we get access to your Google Analytics? Can we kind of see what your incoming sources are? And I think like it's really funny because sometimes they're so siloed that they're like, well, why do you need that? Like you're like, wait a minute.
Mhm.
I thought you wanted us to drive traffic. Like, if you're gonna ask me for measurements, then you need to help me with some of the tools that you use for your website.
Mhm.
They're all linked together. So I do think that's like it's a really interesting dynamic you have to build.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
what do you guys typically like as far as expectations? Obviously we have to set expectations with media and kind of every little thing that we do, but do you feel like the clients have a good expectation of how collaborative the relationship has to be? Because I feel like that's a place that's always really hard for them to get. I don't know why.
We kind of try to head it off at the pass by having an client intake form. And at the
Yeah.
beginning of it, it's very explicit about that this is a partnership and, our success relies on our continued partnership and, all
Yeah.
of that, those kinds of things. And then just gently reminding them if there's something that we need from them to be successful and just bringing it up in the bi-weekly calls. Hey, just a reminder, it'd be really helpful if we had blah, blah, blah. Or
Right.
I think we'd get more traction if we had a nutritionist who can speak about the efficacy of the product or, rather than the CEO who like,
Is the CEO.
but yeah, just like decided to make the product just because, like doesn't have the academic credentials to back up the claims, right? So that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's tricky. And then yeah, I'm sort of going down a rabbit hole here and then I'll
Yes.
stop. But the other thing that I'm trying to encourage clients and the team to do is leverage the credibility they're getting from their media placements and their byline articles and their speaking opportunities and their words, et cetera, to feed it back into the owned and paid side of their marketing. So it isn't just off on an island existing
Yeah.
by itself, but that, okay, you got those media placements. Who are you trying to target? Why don't you take that article, do a Facebook ad, an Instagram ad, whatever, target the demographic, the geographic, et cetera, psychographic that you're trying to reach and make sure that you're repurposing that content in front of the people that you want to make damn sure saw it.
Yeah.
And so there are like ways for them to then and make sure it's on social media, right? You do social media posts, make sure you're including it in your newsletters and make sure you feed it to your sales team in case it's useful for them when they're
Right.
outreach, right? So I think that the more that we can get PR to feel less like it's its own, for some reason, it's always been this
It's
weird
always
stuff.
out there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
always out on a limb by itself. And that should not be the case. But I think when they can start to see this energy is then they question PR less.
Yeah. Agree. Agree.
Yeah.
We're coming up kind of close to time here, and I want to kind of just leave this conversation with some either predictions or best practices from a PR standpoint or advice, PR advice. Either any one of those things. I think best practices when embarking on PR is what I was originally thinking, but just even trends that you guys think. I mean, we didn't even touch on the AI
I was just
idea.
gonna say,
Martha, we
yeah.
didn't even touch on that, but I know if I
Yeah,
said that, that's like a 20-minute conversation.
it
So,
is.
what before we leave, what are our last thoughts on kind of PR trends, things to think about for the next year?
Yeah.
Do you want to kick us
Well,
off, April?
yeah. So along the lines of AI, and I will keep this contained because
Yes.
I know to your point, we could go into a whole other hour about just that. But the thing that I would recommend teams start to do is in addition to checking Google to see where if anything bad is popping up about your brand or your client or the executives at the brand or the client company, et cetera, I think people need to start checking Chat GPT to see when they insert the client's brand and or the executive team members, what comes up to make sure
Okay.
that there isn't like a looming crisis about
Mm,
to bite them in the ass because it's the kind of thing now where it's amalgamating all this information from the internet. And I think we're going to see a whole new practice of crisis communication centered on how to push down or change chat GPT output.
just like we had to do with Google.
Yes.
Right?
I think it's going to be a whole new phase of crisis PR, one that I don't personally think our agency is going to necessarily specialize in, but I think somebody will need to because it's a whole monster waiting to happen. It's like a
Yeah.
monster in the wings that somebody needs to get ahead of.
That's a content monster too. It's like a lot of
Content
content. Yeah, a lot of
monster,
content.
monster. So somebody needs to specialize in that for everyone's sake.
I don't think it's I don't think the 3 of us are not up for that
I don't
job.
think we're that. No, I don't think it's us. But I do think it's something we just need to have in the back of our minds and just know the same way they come and they say, oh my God, the third finding is now this news story that says this thing about crime, felony, jail, whatever it is, or maybe not even that horrible, but sustainability,
Right.
madness, or something like that. I think we just need to be mindful that Chat GPT is going to be the new, oh my God, Chat GPT says that I'm a pedophile or whatever. You know what I mean? Like it's pulling wrong information or it's finding stuff that
The new
was buried
Wikipedia.
or yeah, I don't know what that's going to look like yet, but I have my eyes on it.
Yeah, Mary?
Yeah, I mean, AI is definitely a trend for sure. I think learning how a lot of people ask us if we use it. I'm not a fan of using it for what we do because people hire us for our expertise. I like it as an idea generation. Like if you're getting stuck or like maybe rephrasing something, that's fine. But I think it's like this really challenging standpoint where you have a lot of people who I feel like it takes away like beginners and middle level roles
Yeah.
because you have a lot of people who are very skilled, but then like you have people who are like lower level who, if given the option, most humans go for the easier way.
Hmm.
Not everyone is the hustle. Like, I really want to learn this, dig in. Not everyone's like that. If they can just like put in some prompts and like, I had it once write a song about Mary having fun on a Tuesday, right? It had a hook, it had lyrics, it had a beat. I was very impressed with this. It was really funny. It's as if they knew me. But most things they don't really know like that, right? Or they use the same phrasing, terminology when doing certain things. And so I think for PR firms, like really identifying how because you can't not be aware of it. You can't
Mm,
like completely turn an eye.
ignore it. Yeah.
You're gonna look like you're very backwards. But I think it's like, how do you utilize it where you're still having people learn skills? Like, I just get terrified of someone who's,
Mhm.
like, a lower level who I know has, like, not, like, an op-ed writer, all of a sudden writing really great, amazing things out of nowhere, and then me thinking that they're ready for, like, another level,
Yeah.
right? Or if you are gonna use it, being like, creating an office that's transparent enough and, like, open enough where, like, you ask your manager, like, "Hey, I'm feeling a little stuck. Do you mind if I just, like, see, like, how this happens?" Because if you don't do that, first of all, there are companies who AI check your pitches,
Yeah.
right? So, like, if you get caught in that, that looks real bad. Right? We haven't, but that would look really bad if you did, right? And
Right.
then they're like, "Why are they paying you? They could do it themselves." Right? And it's about how do you continue to show value
Mhm.
in a way that you're still charging. Now, yes, people say like, "Well, you could be more efficient and be able to take on more work." But with the work, the type of work that we do is like very thought driven and like
Right, right.
select driven. It's not like data entry or you're writing like a standard contract.
Yeah.
Try to take someone's background, beliefs, expertise, and integrate that into the news through a conversation that you have that this AI bot knows nothing about,
Right.
right? And so I think that's really how to manage AI is going to be a really big one for me. And I also think even though people are talking about recessions and stuff like that, but it's really for like these bigger companies that we're seeing it impact. So for like companies like us that are like smaller, it's actually a benefit for us because those people like that's how I got started in pandemic. No one could afford these large companies anymore, so
Right.
they came to us. And so
Yeah.
I think there's in any sort of negative downturn or potential, it does give rise for opportunities for people like us, as long as it's
That's in the
like
middle.
bigger companies that are feeling it, not the smaller ones.
Agree. Agree. Well, thank you, ladies. This was a this was a conversation that went in
Lively.
a lot of directions, but I still think it was useful nonetheless. And I think it's really important to really, if you are doing PR, marketing of any sort, understand the dynamics of the media, the PR industry, the marketing industry, how people are evolving in each of these. So I think this is a great conversation. Thank you so much for joining the summit. I look forward to seeing you guys in future wind downs and other webinars, and have a great, happy holiday. Thank you.
Thank you. You too. Thanks for having me. It was really fun.